Hello folks, this is Sula speaking, and you're listening to a commentary video on League of Legends, this one featuring me playing as Morgana. This is a full 5 versus 5 pre-made team, so you can see I'm playing with Varus Nox, with Uberfish, with Cull, and with Termith. And then at the top you can see the other team that we're playing against, also friends of ours, Sunrise, Roland, Voice of Unreason, Terra Incognita, and Donsky. Both teams seem to be relatively well balanced. On the whole, we have ashes in both games, we have magic damage, we have support on both teams, and both teams are going to play with a jungler, so you can see we're getting a little bit more sophisticated in terms of the games that we're playing. Now, I am going to mention right at the start of this video that this part 1 is going to feature a lot of farming and going back and forth in the laning phase. So I'm going to use that mostly to talk about some of Morgana's abilities, since I haven't done a video where I've played as Morgana before. If that's not what you're interested in seeing, then feel free to skip ahead to part 2, because there will be a little bit more action there. But if you want me, but in this video, like I said, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about abilities. And there we go, we actually had a Clairvoyance on our team, and we had Clairvoyance the other team start, so that's why we can see their items. I had actually pinged the map to suggest that, but Termith, who took Clairvoyance, had already Clairvoyance the other team's starting position. In terms of how we're setting up for this game, I'm going to take the top lane and take the solo in that position. Then we're going to have Termith playing Sona take the bottom lane, along with Uberfish, who's playing Ashe, and Cole playing Xinjiao is going to take the middle lane, solo lane, and then Varus Nox playing Warwick is going to end up jungling for us. I think that should probably be obvious. It would probably make more sense normally to have Ashe take a solo lane in the middle, although both Ashe and Xinjiao can of course take a solo lane. The reason why we didn't do that is that Cole was a higher level, had played more games. I think when we did this game, Uberfish was around level 15 to 20, whereas Cole was close to level 30. So that was just a greater experience on one player than another. So we ended up having the Ashe Sona bottom lane, which is of course also a fine bottom lane. I'll also mention here that I haven't done any videos in the last couple days, or last week or so, really. That's because I've been busy with Thanksgiving, and when I cast this is just a couple days after the US Thanksgiving holiday, so I've just been actually not playing League of Legends period recently, so I haven't been able to produce any new games to cast. This game was actually played about 2 weeks ago. This is an older one that I meant to get around to casting, but I should have some more new ones up in the next couple days, so if you've been wondering, no, nothing bad happened to me or anything like that, but just a very busy time, wasn't able to get around to these videos. Alright, so in terms of lanes that we've got here, you can see I matched up against Roland, who is a fine Shen player, and he's going to be laning against me here with Shen. In the middle lane, the other team's Ashe player, who I think is Terra Incognita, if I remember off the top of, or no, that Terra Incognita is playing Annie on their team. Well, I can't remember off the top of my head who's playing the Ashe on their team, but I'm sure we'll see it again in a minute. So we have Xinjiao against Ashe in the middle lane, and then there's Kayle and Annie down in the bottom lane, and then on the other team, Sunrise is jungling with a Mumu. Now I'm going to talk a little bit here and go through some of Morgana's abilities, like I said, because I haven't done a game with Morgana as yet, and there's going to be a lot of farming sort of going back and forth in this lane between myself and Roland. Morgana, I'll start by talking about her passive ability. Morgana's passive gives her innate spell vamp, and what that means is when she does damage with her spells, she gains a little bit of health back. It's not a lot of health, but it is noticeable, particularly when Morgana uses her Tormented Soil, which I'll talk about in a second. You'll notice that you get a little bit of life back, and this is one thing that makes Morgana very strong in the laning phase. She's a very, very good at farming champion, very strong when laning back and forth, and that's due to the fact that she will innately be getting some health back as she deals damage to enemy minions. Alright, Morgana's first ability, her Q skill, is called Dark Binding, and that was what I put my first point in, and you may have seen me firing it off once or twice before. Dark Binding is a skill shot in this game. You have to target it. It does not automatically hit the target. If you do manage to hit an enemy champion, then they will be rooted to the ground. They're not actually stunned, as you might think. They actually have something known as a root, which means that they can't move, but they can still attack and can still use abilities that don't require them moving. So it's similar to a stun, but it's not exactly the same as a stun. It does prevent someone from moving away. Now, the way you can judge how skilled a Morgana player is how good they are at hitting with their skill shot on Dark Binding. I have not played much Morgana, so I am actually pretty bad at shooting, firing off her skill shot. So you'll see me miss a lot of Dark Bindings in this game, and that's just because when we do these 5-on-5 practice games, that's when I'm trying to learn new champions, and I think I've played Morg maybe 2 or 3 times at this point. So not my finest game in terms of using Morgana's abilities, but useful in any case in terms of showing off new champions and me trying to learn new stuff. Alright, the skill that I've been using the most with Morgana is her W skill, which is Tormented Soil, and that's what you've seen me using over and over again. That's the little pool that Morgana sees, and that's where I actually hit with Dark Binding. You can see it roots roll into the spot for a couple seconds. But the pool that I keep throwing down on the ground is called Tormented Soil. It places a little circle on the ground, and any enemy or minion or champion that stands in that will take damage over time. I think it lasts for about 4 seconds. It's either 4 or 5 seconds. And so, of course, anyone that stands in that will take damage over time. This is what makes Morgana such a good farming champion, because when she uses Tormented Soil, once you level it up to rank 3, it will kill the casting minions instantly in one go. I believe that I have 3 points in it right now. I'm not 100% sure, but once I do, just a single casting will kill the caster minions instantly. And yep, there it is. You can see I took out 2 out of 3 of the caster minions. I missed the last one because he moved off of the Tormented Soil. But it just makes it very, very easy to farm with Morgana. In other words, you don't even have to hit the minions. You just throw down your pool, and then they die a couple seconds later. So it makes it very, very easy. And there's a Dark Binding that I actually managed to hit. So you can see I'm able to harass Roland a little bit, get a little damage in on him. And there you can see the caster minions are a little bit short of being killed, but one auto attack will kill all of them. Or actually, I just used my pool to finish them off. So anyway, thanks to Morg, farming is easy. If you have a lane with Morgana, very easy to farm, so she makes a very good solo champ for a lot of different purposes. You can just keep pushing the lane forward over and over again. And there's a Dark Binding that I missed. So yeah, could have done better with that one. Anyway, I'm going to have to go back to base soon because I'm starting to run out of mana. You also can see I brought Flash and Teleport for this game instead of just bringing Teleport like I do with a lot of other champs. Morgana is not as mana dependent as some of these other champions that I've played. She really doesn't need Teleport to be effective. I actually barely use Flash at all in this game, if I remember correctly, because I generally don't have too much experience with Flash, but it is nice to have it, and Morgana really doesn't need Teleport to be effective. Alright, just to finish up with her skills, I haven't done the last 2 yet. Her E skill is called Black Shield, and it's one of the best skills in the game. It's a shield that blocks magic damage. It's the person who's shielded doesn't take magic damage from champion skills, and more importantly, the shield will block crowd control effects. Oh, and down here, you can see Varus Nox is getting an early dragon for us. And yes, Warwick, one of the advantages of taking Warwick is due to his natural lifesteal. He can solo dragon very early. You can see this is only 7.5 minutes into the game, and Varus is only level 4, but he's going to solo this. And I'm not exactly sure where Sunrise was, but he wasn't at the dragon. So yep, there's the smite. The smite's a little bit early. Should have been about 1 second later, but we pick up an early dragon. So you can see I get the extra 100 gold, and I get a free level up, which is very nice. Alright, but anyway, going back to Morg's abilities, Black Shield, great. If you put Black Shield on yourself, not only does it block damage from enemy spells, but it also blocks crowd control effects as well. So, like, let's say Ashe fires off her Crystal Arrow at you. If you are quick enough and you can use Black Shield on yourself, you will not be stunned, for example. And in fact, that works for just about every other skill, every other enemy skill in the game. You can do all sorts of fun stuff. You can walk right through Vygar's event horizon. It won't stun you, just walk right through it. It will block Singed Toss, like he will try to pick you up and throw you, and you just won't move at all, which is pretty hilarious. You can walk through Karthus's Wall of Pain. It's just a great skill to have due to its blocking of crowd control effect. So you can use it on yourself in the laning phase, can be pretty effective. I've seen some games on live streams by better players than myself where they're laning against someone like Malphite, and just every time Malphite tries to toss his rock at you, you just calmly block it with your Black Shield, and so it just makes it completely unable for the enemy champ to harass you. Alright, so Black Shield, great, and then finally Morgana's ult is called Soul Shackles. It's a kind of a difficult ultimate to use, at least initially, before you get the practice of using it. You can see that it's grayed out right now. It's not a targeted ultimate. You can only use it when you're near enemy champions. You can see if I walk close enough to Shen, it will light up, and I think that'll happen at some point sooner or later. When Morgana uses her ultimate, it immediately does damage to any enemy targets in range. It does moderate damage, not great, but then Morgana will latch on with this little shackle animation. It's this little purplish line will attach to any enemy champs near her that get hit by her ult initially. Then, if Morgana can stay attached to the enemy champions for, I think it's 4 seconds, she will deal another round of damage with her ultimate and then stun them as well. And I think the stun is for 2 seconds. Not 100% sure of that. And here, Roland comes forward to harass, so I'm going to bind him and then soil him. Well, the soil's a little bit late, but he does a pretty good job of harassing me here. Not that I'm in any worry about getting killed or anything. And you can see he's taking a lot of damage from the minions. Anyway, Soul Shackle, as I said, does initial damage, and then it does damage again after 4 seconds, and stuns if you can keep it latched onto the target. So in the middle of a team fight, what you'll want to do with Morgana is try to get it attached to a couple of enemy champs, and then you need to stay close to them to keep it attached. There's a nice dash from Roland as he avoids my binding. Then keep it attached for a couple seconds so that you'll get the second damage and then get the stun. So it's a little weird to use when you first start out. Oh, and there we can see in terms of creeping, I have the most creep kills in the game, the most minion kills, which is what I want. I'm going to take Mercury Treads. Very useful for Morgana. Oh, and unfortunately Sunrise gets first blood in the bottom lane. He killed Varus Nox, and I'm not 100% sure what was going on there. They got 4 champs in the bottom lane, and that's because Roland used the Shen ultimate to go down there instantly and support them. As soon as I see that, I decide I'm going to go down here too, because they have 4 down here, and 4 against 2 is a bad matchup. I just want to make sure we don't get pushed out of this lane completely. Alternately, what I could have done is I could have gone to the top lane and just try to push down their tower to counter that, but I decided it would make more sense to come support this team, and we would indeed lose this tower if I don't come down here. Now, I should probably try to use my ultimate here, but I decide not to, and the other team backs off, and I lose my opportunity to use it. But that would have been a pretty good case to use it, because they were already backing off anyway, and if I could have stunned one of them by the tower, it would have been great. Here, I actually get off a nice Dark Binding, as Roland's trying to teleport back to the base, but then Sunrise comes out and bandage tosses me, and like, let's just look at this here. There's 4 of them here, there's only 2 of us. We can't really engage. I mean, they've taken damage, but we really can't engage there. However, Terror Incognita takes too long trying to get away. He sticks in place. I get off a nice binding, and so we get a Warwick ultimate that freezes him in place, and that combined with my Dark Binding scores us a kill. So that balances out the kill that we took earlier. And now I'm going to head back to the top lane. So that worked out okay for us. They did get, I mean, they got in some shots on our bottom tower, but whatever. That's really not that big a deal at this stage of the game. And I'm going to head back to top lane, and I'm going to score a few more creep kills. Also, can you see the little plus 37 in green that just appeared? That's Morgana's innate spell vamp that's kicking in and doing a little bit of healing. I mean, it's never going to save you in a team fight, but when you're laning back and forth, it can help keep your health up, and it is pretty noticeable. So that's, again, a big advantage. Now, a little bit about the strategy of this lane and what I was trying to do here. Unfortunately, the creeps end up killing 2 of those casters, and I don't get credit for them. What I was trying to do here was push this lane forward over and over again. The logic of that being that if I can push my minions up against the tower, I'm not so much trying to damage the enemy team's tower as my logic was if we keep fighting up by the enemy team's tower, then their tower is going to eat a lot of our minions, and Roland's not going to be able to get the gold from killing them. I mean, he actually does a pretty good job of this, but he's not going to get all the minion kills because the tower is going to get a lot of them. And there, you can see how well Roland did. He actually picked off both of the melee creeps, even though we were going back and forth. I should have done a better job of harassing him to prevent him from getting those kills, but Roland played this very well. And in fact, he kept up with me in terms of minion kills throughout this whole laning phase. At the same time, however, that is not necessarily the best thing for their... Well, I mean, it's obviously better than missing creep kills. But just the way that they set up this lane, the thing is, it's better for our team to have a farmed Morgana than it is for their team to have a farmed Shen. I mean, nothing against Shen, but Shen... You generally don't see Shen taking a solo lane because having a farmed up Shen just doesn't do all that much for your team. Like Shen's job is to protect other people. He babysits other champs basically. Having a really farmed up Shen it doesn't do all that much for your team. I mean, because he's not a pure tank, he's not going to be able to stand in there and take an incredible amount of damage. He doesn't scale as well with items as a lot of other champions. So. Overall, in terms of sort of larger strategy, it probably didn't make all that as much sense as you might think to have Shen take that solo lane. Alright, anyway, I'm going to come back and buy. I'm buying towards Rod of Ages. I'm going to pick up some items. But we're up to the end of this video, so I'm going to say stay tuned, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for part 2.